It is 6:30 and we are live. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a special edition of Straight Talk. Tonight, we're going to depart from our usual format. We're going to focus exclusively on one topic, and that's membership. As I've mentioned on the past few editions of Straight Talk, we're about to launch a major initiative to boost Local 1000 membership. Our goal is to add thousands of new members to our union to unite, build strength, and new energy as we head into our contract next spring in 2023. We'll be doing this the old-fashioned way, meeting one-on-one with members throughout the state. We're going to kick that off the beginning of August to discuss how we're stronger together. We're really excited about the future and ready to begin with a rally on the 28th. And there's more information coming forward on that shortly. Tonight, we're going to spend some time in a webinar type format. It's a little different. We're going to hear from national and California leaders as well as one of our own members on the value and importance of membership. We'll learn what we need to do to build more as worker power, how to bring back the fearlessness and courage of workers who are demanding unions and organizing on a scale big enough to unite all of us. You know, it's in the news. I'm sure you were aware. All around the nation, we're seeing workers exercising their power like we've never seen it in recent years. They're going on strike. They're quitting bad jobs. They're winning historic contract victories. We have Skip from Colorado who's going to tell us about his recent victory and calling on elected officials to show us what side they're on, whether they stand with us as working people or not. At Local 1000, we're prepared to be agile, disciplined, and extremely focused to take advantage of this moment. We'll be hearing from several leaders on how we're going to get this done, and we'll be taking some questions on the subject. So if you have other workplace questions, please save them for the next edition of Straight Talk when we'll return to our original format. With that said, I'm going to make a quick side trip here. So tonight, we're changing our format and we're going to unpin our ASL interpreters, and you will have the ability to pin them yourselves and to rearrange your screen in a way that works for you. So this may be a change that we keep going forward, but this is to assist tonight's format. And so with that, I think they're done communicating, and we're going to unpin them. And unlike the Outer Limits, you'll be in control of your own screen. I'm pleased to introduce Heather Conroy as our special guest. Heather is our Executive Vice President of SEIU International. She was elected to her IU post in 2016 after serving as Executive Director of SEIU Local 503, Oregon's public services and care provider. Under her leadership, Local 503 grew to more than 55,000 members. Heather was also a leader in the creation of Oregon's Fair Shot Coalition. That coalition helped raise wages for over 100,000 minimum wage workers and extend paid sick leave to all Oregon workers. She built partnerships around racial and economic justice to lift up everyone in the community. Heather's dedication to improving the lives of all workers has helped bring tens of thousands of people into SEIU. Her motivation to work and labor stems from her childhood in rural Pennsylvania, where her fathers and uncles were members of an asbestos workers union. From an early age, she understood that union membership was how her family had a good life and financial security. Heather, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And I'm going to, after that lofty introduction, I'm going to turn this over to you for a minute.
Great. Thank you so much, Bill. I appreciate the nice words, and I appreciate the welcome. And hello to Local 1000. I bring greetings tonight from our President, Mary Kay Henry, our newly elected Secretary Treasurer, April Verrett, and from my fellow Executive Vice Presidents. I'm super happy to be here tonight on this special edition of Straight Talk. I'm really excited to be able to meet with you all and talk about building power for workers through membership. And I know that the work that we have in front of us of building our membership is work that we all take seriously. Everyone on this call tonight is a member. You know the importance of membership, and what we need to focus on is really how we're able to expand that focus beyond just ourselves. In addition to thanking you, Bill, I wanted to thank your fellow officers, David, Irene, and Annika, for also having me with you all tonight. And I am grateful to be here. I think I love every opportunity I get to meet with members across the country. But the truth is, and I'm going to say this in front of members from beyond Local 1000, so Skip and Catherine, no disrespect intended, but I especially love coming to meet with Local 1000 leaders and members a little bit more than most. And that's because, as Bill said, you know, I grew up and spent most of my working life so far with Local 503 in Oregon, where from 1997 to 2016, I had the privilege of working for and with state workers of Oregon. And so when I get to come be with Local 1000, it feels a little bit like coming home. And your local is also special. It's for another reason. In terms of SEIU, you are the largest local union of public employees in our entire union. That makes you a cornerstone of the public division, which is the division of SEIU that I lead. And so I think you all know the importance of the work you do for yourselves and your coworkers, but the work you do also sets a tone for families throughout California, but also throughout the entire North American continent, Puerto Rico, Canada, and the rest of the US. And so we are counting on you to build a strong union and to set standards for all of us. And I think, you know, in SEIU, we really unite around this vision of a just society where all work is valued and that people are respected, where all families and communities can thrive, and where we leave the world more equitable for generations to come. But our vision is threatened by a couple of things. There's two things that stand in our way, and they'll be familiar to you. It's the influence of corporate power, and it's the influence of structural racism. Big corporations and the politicians that they pay for drive wages down. They fight our union tooth and nail. And they also use race to keep us divided and to limit our power. And we know from our experiences that the best way to push back against those obstacles is for us all to unite and to come together and to push back and to fight and build a leader-rich, anti-racist union that has the power to check corporate greed and dismantle structural racism. And there's no question that we've been through a difficult several years. In 2018, we faced the Janus decision as public sector workers, followed by the pandemic and too many lives lost. In California in particular, the droughts, the fires, the continued killing of unarmed Black men and women at the hands of police, the uptick in violence against members of the Asian community. You know, we are all facing the tough times, experiencing the rising cost of gas, groceries, rent, and they're going up faster than any of our paychecks are. So we know what we need to do to turn all of that around, though. We've seen time and again how setting aside whatever differences we have among us and joining together across place and across race, we have the power to survive and to thrive. That's why throughout SEIU, we've set a goal for every single local union in the US, Canada, and Puerto Rico to reverse the trend of membership decline that we've experienced during the pandemic. And I'm thrilled that Local 1000 has adopted a new focus and a renewed focus on membership and growing the membership so that you can head into 2013 when you head to the bargaining table stronger than ever, where you've been able to sign up more members, organize in your work sites, and exercise your strength. And that takes a lot of work, though. And it's a lot of work to get done in order to build that strength. But the good news is you don't have to do it alone. SEIU has your back. When we say stronger together, that's not just a slogan. For us, that means that we all roll up our sleeves together and get the work done. And so tonight, I'm really excited to dive into this conversation with our other guest speakers about their experiences and perspectives on building membership, why it's so important in California, and why it's so important for the rest of the country. And so I'm looking forward to sharing this time with some special guests. And at the end of that, I'm really looking forward to hearing from you all and the questions that you have and the reflections that you have. So with that, I am pleased to join Bill in welcoming our other speakers tonight. With me is Skip Miller, who's an information technology professional for the state of Colorado at the Colorado School of Mines. He's also the president of his local union, Colorado Winds, which is a part of SEIU. Skip's going to be talking about Colorado Winds' first contract victory because they just won collective bargaining last year and bargained their first union contract ever and are continuing to build their member strength. And then we're also going to hear from Catherine Hutchinson, who is an instructional support technician with CSU, and she's the president of her local union, CSUEU, also known as the California State University Employees Union, which is also a part of SEIU. And Catherine's going to share some of her perspectives on why building member strength is so important for her local union, for your local union, but for all of you in California to build power collectively. And then we're going to round it out by hearing from one of your own activists and leaders, Ruth Ibarra, who's an associate governmental program analyst for the Department of Housing and Community Development, and is the president of her DLC. She's going to share some of her experiences about organizing, and then we're going to open it up and hear from all of you. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Colorado Winds President Skip Miller. Skip.
Thanks, Heather. I am just really excited to be here this evening with all the other speakers on the panel and SEIU Local 1000 members to talk about our first ever contract that we scored some really big wins on, just big wins that only a few years back, we just never would have even thought that was possible. I've been a member with Colorado Winds since its beginning. That was in 2007. A little about me, I grew up in Detroit, another strong union town, and I learned early on really the importance of sticking together with your coworkers so that you can achieve things, so for workplaces and good paying jobs. And so for so long, our union, we did not have collective bargaining. We were created with an executive order, and every time the governor would change, our existence was threatened. You know, it would be just the stroke of a pen and we were gone. So we really worked very hard for that whole time, that 12 years, to build up the legislature and rally our members to push forward to getting that collective bargaining contract in the legislature. So and the reason why it was that really for so long we never knew if we would get a raise, what that raise would be. It was a struggle every year. Every year we would go and plead our case. And so while the cost of living just kept getting higher and higher in Colorado, our wages didn't. Colorado Winds has a long history as a state employees union, but until 2020, Colorado state employees didn't have the right to negotiate a contract with the state. But we knew we had to make that change. We knew we had to make good on our goals of improving the lives of state employees, and the current condition that we found ourselves, we weren't going to be able to do that. So when we actually were able to, and this is a lot to do with, this is a big point, as a public union, the political strength that your members exert is so vastly important. And so that's what we concentrated on, was getting our members out and talking to their legislatures and their districts making sure we'd have lobby days where we went down to the Capitol and we kept in front of their faces so that they could not forget about us and know that we were doing the work we were doing, and we expected to be treated commiserate with that. So we primed the pump. And so when we did finally get our bill on, it was in 2020, and as you recall, there was a little something going on then, COVID-19, something like that. But it kind of took the air out of the room, but we were able to keep the pressure on and get that passed in the last days of the session in 2020. So now we've got a bill. We have the right. The governor signs the bill. Now comes the hard work, right? So people are excited, we're celebrating, but we still have a lot of work to do. We got a lot of learning to do. We've got bringing in people, and the internationals were phenomenal. They sent us some of the best people, and they really led us through that. We had members we had more members wanting to be on that bargaining team than we could have sitting at that table. That's how engaged people were. And even at that point, that was still driving membership. We hadn't actually gotten the contract, but we had gone around the state. We had listening sessions where we talked about what sort of things that we were going to have in the contract and solicited feedback. So people had ownership of that contract. So we bargained with the state. It was about 9 months. And towards the end of 2021, we finally came to an agreement. The governor signed it into law. So now the ratification part of it. And again, utilizing that informational sessions to let people know what we were about, because we were talking to all the employees, not just members, because they all needed to ratify that contract, and they needed to be informed, and they needed to be excited about it. So just to give you an example, so during that contract ratification, we sent out more than 22,000 texts. We knocked on more than 1,000 doors. We made over 7,000 phone calls, and we got 3,052 state employees to vote on our contract, either in person or online. And that doesn't even count every text and call we made that we did during negotiations, because we also had to keep the pressure on the state to not get sidetracked while we were there. So that was an important aspect. Not only did we make a big push, but we informed people what we were doing and why it was important.
Well,
So,
thanks, Skip. I mean, I don't want to give you the whole night here all by yourself.
okay. I can talk about it. I can talk now.
We have to leave a little room for somebody else.
All right. Well, I don't want to run over, and run into somebody else's time. But I know we're going to have a little time for questions afterwards, and I would certainly I would welcome those. And like you can see.
So, how many people do you represent?
We represent 28,000 classified employees in the state of Colorado. Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right. And what's your membership rate?
Our membership rate right now, we are pushing the statewide. We're pushing over 10%. And keep in mind, we've always operated as opt-in.
Okay.
So yeah, so I actually the increase we saw was about 5% of a membership increase during the time we were working towards getting a collective bargaining bill, and also when we negotiating the contract.
Interesting points.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm,
Hey,
mhm.
Bill, let me, can I brag on Skip and Colorado Wins for a second as well? So
I
since,
guess I guess you can.
thank
I'd be
you.
okay with that. So,
I'm going to brag on
if
you
you
guys for a
must.
second here. And this is why I asked Skip to join me, is because this is a group who didn't have, the right to even bargain a contract, but we're holding together the fact that they had a union, people were paying dues to fight to be able to win the right to have a contract and get their contract. Since they've got their contract, they've actually doubled their membership size. And this year alone, just in the first 7 months of this year, 1,000 new members. It's 1,061 to be precise. New members have joined Colorado Wins in the first 6.5 months of the year.
Mhm.
So I just want to brag on these guys because they've, achieved a victory. They've, we're keeping hope alive for 12 years while they're trying to be able to figure out how to pass legislation to be able to bargain a contract. And since they've been able to bargain the contract, they've continuously exponentially grown their membership. And I think we're on track to shoot for 6,000 members by the end of the year.
Oh, absolutely. And one other thing I want to add is of those members, those new members, those members are engaged. They're joining COPE. They're joining our political advocacy. They're becoming stewards. They are not just joining and sitting by and waiting for things to happen. They know that they need to work in order to achieve these goals. And we weren't seeing that. We weren't seeing that level of energizing before all of this transpired with the contract. So that's another knock-on effect.
There we go. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Skip. I'm sure we'll come back to you and talk to you more. Heather, who are we going to go to next?
Next up is Catherine Hutchinson, the president of CSUEU. Catherine?
Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad to be here because I feel like even though I'm in education, Local 1000 is a sister union to us because we're both dealing with the state and the budget and public sector. So I appreciate being here. Just to give you a little background about our union, CSUEU, we represent about 16,000 employees. We are grounds custodial, healthcare workers, IT, clerical, admin, and the weird ones like me, instructional support technician, just means I'm a biology tech that works in the labs and gets everything set up for the students and the faculty. So that's who we represent. We're huge in that we represent pretty much the whole state we have campus at Humboldt, and our next further down west campus is San Diego. So we have 23 campuses in between there. And then we also represent employees at the Office of the Chancellor. So essentially we say we have 24 chapters that we need to engage with membership and sign up and get them involved in the union. We, outside of the California Faculty Association, CFA, which is also an affiliate of SEIU, are the largest union on the campuses outside of CFA. And so like you, we get our funding from the state. Now, the education, there's 50% tuition and fees, but we try and keep that down because we want students to be able to afford and go to college and get that education. So a lot of our funding for salaries and things like that comes from the state of California. And the difference between us and you guys is that the governor has given his power of bargaining to the administrators at the campuses. So we bargain directly with the CSU, and then the Board of Trustees approves or ratifies the contract that we agree upon when we bargain. And over the years, we've had to build up our reputation, and it's so important for the legislative side and members to understand that, because when we do need help, that's where we go, because they're the ones who are over the CSU and need to hold them accountable. So we've built our reputation getting audits done on the CSU. We showed that the CSU was holding outside accounts of $4.5 billion and saying crying broke and saying they didn't have money to pay wages of workers, or they kept raising student fees. And recently there's an audit approved because now we have managers, especially our chancellor, covered up sexual harassment of employees and students. So we built our reputation around being a truthful, a transparent, honest local, and the legislature really appreciates that. And so now we're in contract bargaining. We just finished. We're hopefully going to ratify TA in the next 2 weeks. And one of the things that benefited us, and we told our members, was we came up with one campaign, and that's my logo you see, called Good Jobs Fund Our Future. So doing this allowed us to have our membership focus down on one goal. And when they saw that one goal, we were able to increase our membership because they understood this is what we're going after to get better working conditions, wages, and salary increases for our employees. They also saw, and we pushed, that the way we can get this is to have a big membership or large membership. Employees, we remind them that you may not think your employer knows how big your union is, but they're looking at the numbers. They want to know and see where they can actually harm us. If we're not having those numbers, then they can kind of get us at the table and say, your members aren't going to do anything about it. You're only so strong. But so we tell them, the stronger we are, the more power we have in numbers, that gets us the power at the table. And it reminds, we remind our members too, that as public service unions in California, we know that we make gains for our members. Those services we provide, that lifts up the communities around us. They take that back home. They're able to support where they live, to support the community they're around. So having this campaign and pushing this membership, we saw a record number of upticks of people are like, am I a member? Let me check. No, I'm not here. As soon as voting starting, like we had 40 signups today. Before we held town halls to explain the TA and the ratification, we had within 1 week 100 members sign up because they really support and believe in this contract, and they wanted to make sure that they had the right to vote and get in there and say, yes, this is what we want. We want the CSU to give us good jobs. In turn, in good jobs, we give back to the community and to the state. So, but I also want to bring up, when you're doing membership, there is challenges, and especially for a local like us, where we have 23 campuses throughout the state. NEO is a big issue for us that we're working on. And COVID did allow our employer to kind of negate doing some of those. Oh, we can't do it. It's usually in person. We don't know how to do Zoom. So we've been using, we have a law in the books, AB 119, that applies to everyone, where we've been following on that to try and get them to start holding their NEOs more frequently. Another problem we ran into was hybrid. A lot of our campuses at first were going to push everyone back to person, but now we have hybrid. So if you go in person to maybe have someone sign up, the desk is empty because that just happens to be their telecommute day. So we're working on things, but having this good contract and then finding the workarounds of NEO and doing phone banking and purple text allowed us to overcome some of these challenges.
Oh, Catherine, I appreciate you. We share some of the same issues and goals and problems, and be glad to partner with you on AB 119 because we're working on that as well.
Yes.
So Heather, I think maybe we want to introduce our own Local 1000, Ruth Ibarra.
Yeah, so we just wanted to invite Ruth Ibarra to speak a little bit about her own experiences around organizing and doing membership sign up to close us out of the speakers.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Hello, good evening, Union siblings. My name is Ruth. I work as an AGPA with the Department of Housing and Community Development. I have worked for the state of California and have been a proud SEIU Local 1000 member for approximately 15 years. And I have been a steward for about 13 and a half years and currently a DLC president for DLC 787. Outside of state service, I am the vice president of the California State Coalition of Labor Union Women and a founding member of NorCal Resist, a local nonprofit that organizes against social and racial injustices in our community. And I share this because a lot of this comes from becoming a union member. Being a daughter of Mexican immigrant farm workers, a woman of color, a single mom, I've struggled through the oppressive systems and structures, such as poverty and racism inherent in capitalism. And it was through my union that I learned to fight against these systems and structures. And this is why I believe in unions and the labor movement. And I also believe that unions, as unions, we must be at the forefront of social injustice, social and racial justice movements, not only because approximately 2/3 of union members are women, Black, Indigenous people of color, immigrants and LGBTQ workers whose rights are constantly under attack, but because it's the right thing to do. When I started state service, I became a union member within my first week. I knew it was important. I was a teacher previously, and my union helped me make some decisions about my career back then. But I didn't get involved until a friend of mine told me that I needed to. At first, I was like, no way, I don't have time for this. I can't, you know? Being a single mom, had to take care of a kid. And her response was, well, then you can't complain. I like to complain a lot. And so I like to find solutions too, but I really like to complain. So I went to the 2-day steward training that they had back in the day, got my 24 signatures, and boom, I had my license to complain. And now I didn't have to do anything. So that's what I thought. But 2 weeks later, my DLC vice president showed up to my cubicle, had a one-on-one conversation with me. And the next thing I knew, I was appointed as a DBERM, planning worksite meetings, representing coworkers, flyering at various work sites, and going to more and more union trainings, basically going down that rabbit hole of organizing. And it was one of the best things that has happened to me, because my union gave me a voice and the tools and resources to fight against bad management at my work site and injustices at work and in my community. And that is what unions do. They offer us working people the ability to come together to form a powerful collective voice. We're more likely to be heard when we collectively voice concerns when issues arise at our work sites or when negotiating a contract than if we're going to go, if we were to go to management on our own. For me, unions represent a diverse voice in the that fight for equality in and outside of the workplace. Unions fight to fix salary discrepancies, such as when in our contract we have the out-of-class grievances, making raise and promotion process clearer. Think about the merit system that we have, and getting justice for workers who are being bullied and discriminated against. Our dignity clause allows us to file complaints on our managers. In our communities and governments, unions represent the interests of working people by providing a voice against fat cat corporations like Amazon and Walmart, and fighting for laws that benefit all working people, such as healthcare for all and a living wage. Perhaps even more importantly, unions provide us with the opportunity to reclaim our power collectively. If we want to build a true democracy, we must support the efforts to build democracy at the workplace, where most decisions directly affecting us, the working people, are made. And we do this by educating, organizing, and mobilizing workers to be union members. So last month, I participated in a program with the International called La Brigada, the brigade. The program taught us the art of one-on-one conversations. And there is an art to having those organized conversations. Once we got those skills, we were put to use those skills that we gained in Virginia, organized non-union public sector workers. So Virginia's a right to work state, but about a year ago, public sector workers had a huge win. They were given the right to collectively bargain. However, there was a caveat there, and the city or county had to pass an ordinance in order to be able to collectively bargain and form a union. In Virginia, the campaign I was in Richmond, the campaign I was in, the city had not passed an ordinance to allow city workers to collectively bargain. So the union had not only to organize workers, but also help pass the ordinance. And those are huge obstacles, especially when many of the workers didn't know what a union was or what it did. And many were still hesitant to sign a card of support because of fear of retaliation. And on top of that, management was fighting against unionization by creating programs that supposedly address workers' concerns. And once they are saying, well, we're doing this for you, you don't need no unions, right? More astonishing was that we heard from workers that have been with the city for years as temp workers. For workers, from workers that after 29 years of service were only making $17 an hour. Some of those workers had no pension plan, and some had horrible medical coverage or no medical coverage at all. So it was a good thing that we went in there to share with them the benefits of having a union. And those benefits are a grievance process, a pension plan, vacation, sick leave, pay raises, a dignity clause. And to show them we really had these things in our contract, we would pull out our contract and say, see, you can also have this too. But it's going to take you to sign a support card, get involved in, organizing your union and forming your union, and putting pressure on city council to pass the collective bargaining ordinance. In a meeting with city workers and a council member, the council member asked, do city workers even want a union? And the resounding answer was, yes, we want a union. So today, Richmond city workers are still fighting for a union and an ordinance. And as the saying goes, when we fight, we win. And I believe Richmond city workers will win and join our SEIU family. Their campaign to form a union reminded me of why unions need to be involved in politics. But most importantly, that we SEIU Local 1000 must continue to educate our members, grow our own membership, and mobilize them into action. So I encourage you, if you haven't yet become a member, to do so today. You can do it online at SEIU1000.org. It takes you about a minute to do so. And if you are a member, encourage your coworkers to join. Stay informed, participate in your work sites and DLC events, and seek opportunities to take on leadership roles within our union. So let's use our collective power to increase our membership. Let's become active, and let's win a contract that we all can be proud of. Porque sí se puede. Yes, we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth. And Bill, I'm going to kick it back to you, but when you had asked me to join you all and talk about the importance of membership, I couldn't think of a better way than to bring with me, people like Catherine and Skip, and to tap into folks from your own local, like Ruth, to share their experiences and to share what motivates them, and to just be able to show firsthand how important the work in Local 1000 is, but also how it impacts people around the country and how we're all in this together. So I'm going to kick it back to you. Thanks, Bill.
Well, thank you. We are all in this together, and I appreciated what everybody's brought to the table so far. Since it's a different format, we've only got about another 25 minutes tonight. I just want to remind everybody with their hands up to please keep it on the topic of membership and to please ask a question. We don't want a lot of crosstalk. You're not going to get to ask 2 or 3 questions without getting back on the end of the queue again. So please keep it to one concise question. If you want to direct that question to the panel, that's great. If you want to direct it to, Heather, Skip, or one of the other panelists, our own Ruth Ibarra, you can do that as well. So the first hand I had up was Joshua. So I'm going to ask Joshua to unmute and ask a question.
Hey, Bill. So I did have a question about membership, and it's interesting about the last speaker who, Ruth, I think her name was, mentioned something about democracy. And I could tell you one of the biggest things that I'm facing, I'm a steward for DLC 768, and I'm also the secretary treasurer for DLC 768. And so I have a lot of members that are coming to me and they're wanting to pull their membership because of all the chaos that's been caused by the vice presidents, your appointment to the chair, which people say that was given illegally. So how do we battle that and try and explain the coup d'etat against the president who was legally voted in, and how you guys overthrew him?
Well, Joshua, I think that
removing the membership.
So do you have a question about membership tonight?
Yeah, I do. How do you overcome that type of chaos within the union where everybody's feeling like they would rather pull their membership than continue their membership. And the ones that you're trying to convince to come over to membership and they see all of this stuff that's going on in the background with the court cases, your lawsuits that you have going on, and the other lawsuits that are going on against the duly elected president, and
Well,
how
Jo-
their
well,
voices were
Joshua?
stolen. How do you get
Joshua?
that if their voices were stolen
Joshua, I
or
appreciate
their vote was stolen?
I appreciate your opinion. Sometimes there are chaos in organizations, and sometimes drastic actions have to be taken to resolve those problems, issues, and chaoses. That's still in process, and we will see where it goes. Hopefully, people will look at what we're doing as we move towards a contract and pay attention to the actions, and we'll work to put the past behind us. It will get resolved over time. Appreciate you calling in tonight. We're going to ask Sean to unmute. Good evening, Sean. Come join us. What's your question?
Good evening, Bill. It's more of a compliment. I like seeing Sisu here, Catherine Hutchinson. I'm the niece of Kim Harrington. So I just want to say Union is a family. Kim Harrington was the Sacramento chapter president, and she recently passed away. So it's very emotional seeing you and then seeing Vivian last week. So I don't have a question. I just have a statement. It's regardless of whatever you think's going on at the headquarters, the union's important. I come from a long line of activists, and it's a family. So thank you for putting the article out about her service. And it's not about what might be going on or what people don't necessarily like seeing. It's about getting involved, making a change, and what the union represents with regards to equality. So Catherine, thank you so much. And I'm trying not to cry, but it was wonderful seeing you. And Bill, please do more of these where we network with other locals and come together and just support each other. Sorry, I didn't have a question, but thank you for letting me talk.
All right, Sean, we appreciate it. We will do as many of these as we can. Good evening, Richard. Can you unmute and ask your question?
Okay, there we go. So I was going to ask a question, but I'll be very brief, and what I'm going to do now is a comment. The first gentleman that spoke, talked about the controversy in the union. I accentuate the positive. Okay, I'm the DLC 767 chief steward and vice president. And one thing, I do all the NEOs at my work site, the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, because it's a very small building and I'm very capable of doing them. But one of the things that I mention when I do the NEO is, I say something like, you may be hearing in the news that there's a lot of controversy in the union right now. And I'm not going to comment on either side. I'm not going to take sides here. But what I will say is it may take a month, may take 6 months, it may take a year, but we will get through this because we have to in order to get a good contract. It's now about unity for contract negotiations, regardless of who's part of what, regardless of what the outcome ends up being. So that's what I say. I don't even pay attention to that stuff anymore. And for the record, Bill, I think you're doing a really good job. The only thing I would add here very quickly is, obviously the union is about recruiting membership and doing things like that. But one thing that I do is I take, once a month, I bring lunch into my members at the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. And, we have supplies of shirts and water bottles, and that's obviously not the only thing the union should be doing. But, I send out updates as much as I can. I'm going to send an update about this tomorrow or by Friday. And, just showing them that you care, even if it's a little thing like offering a t-shirt or a water bottle. Other people see that and they talk about that to even the people that aren't members. Hey, you should, join. Hey, you know what? It's not just about that, but hey, Richard brings in lunch once a month, okay, to all the members and treats everybody. And, and we can have on-site meetings now. So anyways, that's enough said. Just do little stuff like that. That goes a long, long way. Thank you.
Sir, Richard, we appreciate it, and come back and visit us again. Good evening, Margaret. You can unmute and ask a question.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I was really moved by the people in Richmond, Virginia, making $17 an hour with no health benefits after many years. Some of our bargaining unit 4 members, and probably others, but bargaining unit 4 is what I deal with most often. They most need a strong voice with the union, and people feel they can't afford to pay union dues. They're barely making ends meet. They feel they can't. I might disagree, but I'm trying to think about ways to overcome that. Offer them a discount membership until the contract is signed, or are there any thoughts on our lower wage workers who feel they can't afford to join?
We haven't had those discussions to date. It doesn't mean we won't have them in the future. I come from the perspective of you can't afford not to join. But that's my perspective. So I appreciate that, and we will take your comments under advisement.
Hey, Bill, can I add a little something to that too? One of the things
Sure.
I've experienced is often it is lower wage workers who are quicker to join the union at times, but there is sometimes a challenge. Like, people get used to not having that money come out of their check. And one of the things that I know a number of locals do is to really approach people to join the union right as wage increases is kicking in, right? A new COLA or a step is happening, to use that as an opportunity to say, now would be a great time for you to do it, right? The raise you're about to get will often more than offset what you would be paying for dues. And so it's just an opportune time for, particularly with the lower wage workers or folks who are feeling like, I've got a very, very fixed and tight budget, and to take that extra 1.5–2% out would mess me up, to be able to think about it at those times when a wage increase is kicking in.
We have that coming up August 1st.
Yeah, it just went into effect 2.5 July 1. I appreciate that. Good evening, Joe. Can you unmute and ask your question?
Yes, absolutely. Hey, everyone. Thank you very much for taking my call. I'm a new union member. I've been in with you for about a year. I've been a state worker for 8 years. The furloughs made it very challenging to pay my dues. I'm so glad I'm back. I want to thank Teresa Hubbard and Cheryl Allen for being there for me. I'm a worker over at Social Services. The question I have is, because I'm in technology, and I have a lot of friends within technology. They don't see a value in the union. I beg to differ. I think that we are usually run until we were working 60, 70-hour weeks. And so how can I persuade them to come aboard? Because, the money that's taken out of my check is, and I'm not trying to burst anybody's ego or anything else. It's not painful to me to have support from the union. So like I said, what are methods that, because I used to have representatives over at Social Services that said, oh, we don't really need to worry about ISD or technology because you're not IT strong, where, union is not. Boy, I tell you what, that's changing, because the way they run us ever since COVID is we're run to the dirt all the time, and they don't respect anyone's person or anything else. So I do want to say thanks to Teresa and Cheryl for going to bat for me and being here for me. And I really want to help out with the union. I really want to bring people with us. So if you have any recommendations, let me know, please. If you have,
I do, Joe, actually, and thanks for calling in and bringing this up. So I'm going to connect you with, we're going to have an IT group go out and work on membership across the state just for IT. I wrote down your name, and I will get you connected.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And
you're welcome. And thanks for coming back as a member, and thanks for offering to do some work.
Oh, my pleasure. that you guys got my back. It's time for me to take care of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good evening, Earl. Can you unmute and join us?
Yes, thank you. And thank you to Heather and Skip and Ruth and all the other speakers for those inspiring words. My question about membership is, as you can see behind me, I have my dining room lights covered by makeshift lampshades made out of binder paper because this is my office. So to point out that in IT, as you mentioned IT, I work in IT, but also many other Unit 1 and other units have people who are working from home full time. My question is what plans do we have for membership, building up of membership with this new world that we're in? So that would be it. Thank you.
Heather, you want to talk about the help that you've sent us and the plan we're building?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about it. I mean, it's definitely new to everybody in many ways. People have always telecommuted, but certainly not on the scale that people are experiencing now. And it does throw a monkey wrench into a lot of the traditional ways that we've thought to build membership and build our union, going desk to desk, cubicle to cubicle. And so we really have been experimenting with and working on different methods. One is being able to do membership by voice authorization, where you can actually do it over a phone call. So you don't have to be face to face, but you can do a phone call and get a legal voice authorization to be able to join the union that way. There's also ability to do electronic sign up, so that you could imagine connecting people over Slack or email or whatever, and being able to send a link. And so really trying to lean on the technology, and actually through Zoom. I'm not well versed on this. Our organizers are better versed than me, but there's actually ways in which we can do membership sign up through Zoom using the chat feature in the programs. And so really thinking about how are we using the technologies that people are using for work, for communications, and mirroring those in terms of our outreach. And that's just the mechanics of the membership sign up. I mean, I do think it's going to be important to figure out how to build community when we're all, not all, but when so many people are working from their homes. And one of the things I recently heard, I was just with some folks from Skip's Local earlier today in Colorado, and one of the leaders of one of the units that's all remote working now actually is hosting a monthly happy hour, where people are able to come and get together and talk about the issues that they're facing at work, but to gather, just have a gathering place so people can get together. And I just think we're going to have to experiment with those kinds of methodologies too, to build that community. So it's much easier to have someone's back that you know, and that you personally know, as opposed to imagining that you have somebody's back that you don't know very well, that you've only ever seen over Zoom. So those are a couple of the ways that we're doing this work.
So Heather, do we want to invite Catherine in for a minute? She's been dealing with this issue as well. And, we're still problem solving this here at Local 1000 as we move forward.
Absolutely, Catherine.
Yeah, we ran into it, especially when pretty much our workforce was sent home and only essential workers were back at the campuses. And so something that's been really successful and people just thought it wouldn't work was phone banking. So Heather's right. That actually was really successful. In 1 month, we got 200 members. And it's amazing that people think people don't want to talk on a phone, but they do. They engage over the phone. They want to hear what you're doing. They want to know about the local. And so phone banking was really successful. And then when we couldn't phone bank, we did purple text. And I actually, because of SEIU International, became a purple text guru and trained people on purple text, just because you hit that group that doesn't have maybe a phone, that they pick up, but they answer that text. They ignore the number, but they're like, hey, there's a text. So we got quite a few signups using purple text. Now that goes so far, right? And so the other things that Heather talked about, we did our NEOs, we started presenting on Zoom, and sure enough, in the chat, we would drop the join link. and click on it now, start walking through it. We'll help you walk through it. We bring it up on the screen and say, here, you're going to pick this and that. And it engages them to do it right there. And then if we didn't get them there, we would do the follow-ups with the phone calls and email wasn't so great. They could ignore that a lot easier, but the phone banking and purple text really helped us get our numbers back up.
Oh, super. Thank you. So thanks, Earl. I'm going to move on and see if we can get a couple more calls before we wrap up. So good evening, Luke. Do you have a question?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, great. Hey, I just want to thank everybody who's able to be here and speak today. I think it's great that we're doing a lot of this outreach with other locals. I think that's just so important for building our solidarity and power, is knowing what other locals are up to. And just one thing, I think that's something that we need to just really push hard on and expand even more. I've been thinking about trying to even reach out to other bargaining units with the state. I think at one time, a lot of them were a lot closer in terms of bargaining all kind of going on at the same time. I think if we can work together with them, they do have a little bit of different desires and needs in terms of what they're trying to achieve. But I think bottom line, a lot of them have the same issues that we do. So just some ideas there. But in terms of membership, I just kind of wanted to think a little bit deeper about, okay, say we kind of forecast we can get to like a 85 or 90% membership. I think the members kind of want to have some sort of guarantee that we have kind of like a program that says, okay, this means we are really one unit, and what are we going to be able to get out of this? What leverage are we going to have when we get to bargaining? That's why I think the outreach is so important, because if we've got a lot of those people along with us, I think there's some amazing things we could do. I'm kind of throwing out numbers and stuff and sharing with some people, and I don't want to get into that now. I'd like to share that with you personally if I can, Bill, at some point, because I think I've gotten some interest from some other bargaining unit chairs. But
Sure. So Luke, everybody's getting off in the weeds on comments, and I appreciate that. Do you have a question for the panel?
Yeah, it's for the panel. No, I think they're doing a great job. We just got to keep up what we've been doing, and I just want to be supportive of what they're doing. And yeah, some of these things that I have, I'll certainly reach out to some other folks. But any way that we can continue to maintain that connection, I think is gonna be important for us. So yeah, I'll leave it there.
I agree.
Actually, there was one more thing. Can I ask real quickly? A couple weeks ago, there was a member, Norma, who I remember was really having a hard time. I kind of reached out to Ajamu, who I know real well from steward training. I think he had said he had gotten in touch with some folks from the union, and I wanted to find out if there's kind of any follow up on her story, because some of these things I think are really important to try to keep members aware of.
Yeah, I've been following up with Norma offline.
Oh, great.
I've had conversation and email with her, and we're still working on some things for Norma. So I don't know. I guess we could consider Norma a work in progress.
Okay. Great. Yeah, if there's good new things to report about her, I'm sure everyone would love to hear on the call. Yeah,
that's up to Norma to come back and bring that up forward.
Oh, okay.
Let's see here if I can get to, I hope it's Lewis. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, welcome.
Hi.
So you have a quick question for us? You're probably our last call for the night.
My question may not be so quick. It's about health benefits, and if the union can help me with that, and if so, how? As far as I know, I'm still on Medi-Cal, which I had before I got my EDD job.
So do you have the number for the Member Resource Center?
Member resource? I don't think so.
Okay, so go on our website, SEIU1000.org, and on there you will find a tab for Member Resources. Go to the Resource Center. It's an 866 number, and reach out there. And then let's see if we can get you started in the right direction.
Resource.
It's up on the screen if you want, Louis, at 471-7348. Do you see it on the screen? Oh,
And the
it
Zoom
disappeared.
screen? Oops.
It was up on the main screen for a minute and now we lost it. There it is, 866-471-7348.
This is going to turn into a big phone tree moment.
No. Start out there and we'll work on getting you some help, okay?
Okie dokie.
So thanks. So this special edition was scheduled for 1 hour tonight because everybody's spread out across the country and they have different pushes and pulls. So I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I want to thank everybody for coming on. And we'll come back and do this again in the future. In closing, I have a couple of things to talk about real quick. So today there was an article in the Bee about collective bargaining. And it really demonstrates how crucial membership actually is to winning a strong contract. That goes back to the story that Skip shared with us from Colorado. It goes back to the information around the contract fight for CSU-EU with Catherine and what she talked about. It touches back on what Heather shared with us. So, inflation is over 9%. It's going at a record-setting clip, right? Gasoline is still around $6 a gallon. And, the economists are predicting a recession. Meanwhile, the Legislative Analyst's Office is reporting that to the administration that it's going to be difficult to retain state employees while inflation is increasing and wages are flat or stagnant. Our brothers and sisters in state employee unions representing scientists, firefighters, attorneys, and engineers are trying to win major increases in salaries and benefits in their contracts while they're at the table right now. With that in mind, as the state's largest public sector workers union, that's us in Local 1000, we need to have energy, effort, and we're in the fight with them. We're part of them. Our membership growth matters. Our fight for our contract matters. Our support of them matters. So with that, we're going to be aggressive with the state to ensure that we get the best contract we can get, not just what some might consider a fair shake, but actually our fair and reasonable share of the state's nearly $100 billion surplus. As we know, and as we stated before, California doesn't work if California state employees are not working. So we need to be working, we need to be paying our bills, we need to be treated fairly. And for that, we need the membership behind us, with us, and the numbers to move forward and actually win a successful contract through building power and unity. And that is a message that Heather delivered to me back in March. So with that said, I want to thank our guests tonight. We will come back and do this in the future. I hope our guests had a good experience. I'm sorry that we didn't have anything for Ruth tonight. Her story and her experiences with the International are very powerful. And Ruth will be working with us on our membership drive going forward as we kick that off the end of July and move into August. So thank you very much for showing up tonight. Have a great evening, everybody, and let's go forth and win a better contract. Good night and thank you.